Hey folks, Engineer 775 here. Wanted to talk to you about something that I'm very familiar with since I was a little tyke. I'm 50 years old now, but I've been doing this for a long time, splitting wood. When I grew up in upstate New York, yes, it gets cold there, as you know, if you've been there. I think my brother has 24 inches of snow on the ground right now. We split a lot of wood. Every house that we went to, family, extended family, grandparents, everybody split wood. Everybody burned wood. And whether it was wood cook stoves or heaters or furnaces in a basement, all different types of heaters, all different types of woods, lengths of wood, size of wood, you name it. My stepfather was a logger, and in the summer they had a grading business. In the winter they skidded out tops. And guess what I got to do? Get to cut cord of wood for 15 bucks. And so I got good at cutting wood, good at splitting wood, and time was money. So I want to share with you some of the things that I've learned, and what kind of spurred this video on is I was challenged recently to a wood splitting competition by some good friends, and we had a lot of fun one night coming out to my wood lot and busting some rounds, or bolts as some of you call them. So here where I am, I'll just tell you up front that you won't find an axe. And the size of wood that I'm using is for a wood boiler, and the wood boiler will accept 4-foot long wood, 3-foot diameter. Not that you should do that because it'll break your back. But the wood I typically split is a little bit bigger than what most people would use, unless they have a wood boiler. And so my rounds are 20 inches in diameter, some of them, and they're 25, 26 inches long. And that's a piece of wood that doesn't split with an axe unless you just want to waste a lot of time. So when I started off with splitting mauls, I started off with a 6-pound maul, and I was probably young, 10 to 12 years old, and using a 6-pound maul, and I thought that was something that was pretty heavy to swing and master at that age. And then as I got taller and stronger, I'd been splitting with a 6-pound maul for many, many years and thinking that was the way, and then somebody put an 8-pound maul in my hand, and I was able to just blow the doors off of a 6-pound maul in terms of what I could do. Again, this comes down to, I think, the size of the person, how much force you can generate, and can you wield that 8-pound maul. When I got that 8-pound maul, I started to really pick up my ability to split more wood. So I'm not talking axes, and there's a lot of gimmicks. All the lever axes and all this stuff will not touch this wood. Now if you live in a place where you've got real straight grain wood that splits really easy, I know we had some ash that was like butter. I mean, it was awesome. And I love using an axe, and it's fast and it's fun, but can't touch this white oak or red oak or hickory for sure that I have here. And so the axe is a joke. I only have axes to chop roots out of trenches when we're putting in water systems. I have hatchets. I love my hatchets, my snow and Neelys, my old ones for chopping kindling wood, which I don't do a lot of because we always have a fire going. So anyway, I digress. So I was challenged, and the folks that challenged me, or the gentleman challenged me, he brought all of his weapons of mass destruction. He brought ISO core this and ISO there. I forgot what it was. But they were mauls, and they were nice, and they were new, and axes and fiskars, this and that, and so we had a lot of fun, and the testosterone was really engaged, and the egos were engaged, and we just came out here and busted some wood. I was accused of being angry at the way I took my aggression out on a piece of wood. But for me, it's just a joy, and they mistook my anger. It was really a joyful event. I had a lot of fun. Now, I just want to share with you, I've had this splitting maul. It's an 8-pound maul. It's pretty ugly handle. It used to have a lot of grip down here. It's really smooth now through use, but about 21 years ago I bought this. Not many wood mauls, usually, and then when somebody shows up and thinks they can split wood, and what do? They overreach and they hit the wood on the handle and just do stupid things. So I have found that the fiberglass handle, they're not pretty, they aren't glamorous like Wrangler Stars axes and mauls. Sorry, Cody, You got cool stuff. But from a practical prepping standpoint, this has been unstoppable. 21 years, we heat our house exclusively with wood. We heat our water, domestic water, with 3 teenage girls, a boy, 6 of us in the house. We use a lot of hot water with the laundry too. We have an infinite supply of that hot water, and it comes from wood. So what I want to be is efficient when I come to splitting wood. So I use an 8-pound maul. I have a Mintcraft Pro, local hardware store, support the local guys. Paid $25, $26 for it. This one probably the same, $24. I don't even know I don't know who made this. Probably, I don't know. The heads are in Mexico, okay? They were made in Mexico on both of my splitting mauls, but I've never spent more than $30 on a splitting device. Not necessary. But the maul, it provides a much better ability for you to split larger chunks of wood. Okay, if you want to transition once you've busted your wood to an axe, that's up to you, but I keep the same tool without. Now, if you're looking at the geometry of a maul, you've got the wedge shape. And a lot of people use a sledge and a wedge, and that's fun too, because I love swinging a sledge. My sledge is an 8-pound sledge with the same exact handle. So one of the things I do is when I'm driving ground rods, I love to take that sledgehammer, and because it improves my accuracy. If I can take full swings at a ground rod and hit it every time, I'm pretty accurate, and that's what I want to do. If you cannot be accurate, if you're not accurate, and the only way you get accurate with one of these is through practice, but you should be able to hit within 1/4 of an inch of the spot every time. If you can, you're all over the place. You have not split wood, and you're just killing yourself. So accuracy, technique is of utmost importance when it comes to splitting wood. There can be, somebody you wouldn't think could split any wood, and they show up and man, they can really do it because they're accurate. They know how to translate this mass into impulse. Impulse is force times time, and it is equal to a change in momentum. So just a little bit of formulas here. Momentum is mass times velocity. My mass is fixed, right? I've got this mass to work with, and I want to accelerate this thing. But it's kind of like, it's a combination of, like if you've ever boxed and you have the snap of the punch. The people that can throw an awesome jab, and I've done a little bit of boxing and used to get the crap beat out of me. Take a few good hits, then I'd get into it because I didn't want to get hit so hard. But to learn from the boxers that can snap at the end, and whether you're breaking boards in Taekwondo or punching, same with wood, apply that same thing. Or maybe to golfing, when you the swing and the impact of the golf club head with the ball, and then the follow through, kicking a football. All of these things have application to splitting wood. So impulse, I want to take this mass and I want to accelerate it. And when I get to the point where I'm close to that wood, I do a thing where I snap. I use a snap. And now a lot of people would argue with me, but I actually use my dominant hand at the bottom, and I don't do this nonsense. I am not. You see people doing the swing and they chop. That's what a waste. All of this was wasted, and you're getting a good shoulder workout, but you're not making your house warm. Okay, so what I do to kind of balance out, because I am right-handed, I actually, believe it or not, kind of start on the left side, and I'm pulling down, and it is a use of your back, your butt, and your hamstrings. If your hamstrings are not burning when you split wood, you are not using the right technique, in my opinion. So accuracy and impulse, which is a change in momentum. Impulse is force times time. I want to generate as much force, and then the time in impulse is actually from the time that this piece of material, this tool, hits that wood, and it's a follow through. So you kind of visualize, I am going to plow through that round and stick this thing right in the ground. So it's a follow through. It's not, my goal isn't just at the top of that piece of wood. When I do get to the top of that piece of wood, or just before, I feel like I snap it, and that's just something, just thousands of rounds, just splitting, and to get the most power generated at that last moment, I snap. It's kind of like the jab for a boxer, the kick for a Taekwondo master, karate, you name it. There's always the snap, and it's the same with splitting wood. So I see people, and I watch that head, and it looks so slow as it hits the wood. I'm like, they're never gonna split that, and then they're all over the place. It's not good. We're gonna go to a piece of wood, and I want to talk to you about the wood itself, because that's a factor. There's so many variables in this. This is kind of cool. So there's the sweet science of splitting wood. But anyway, we had fun the other night, competition, and I won't say what happened. Well, I will. I kind of won. But so I was challenged to that. It was just a guy thing, a lot of pride, a lot of testosterone going. And I will tell you, as studies have shown, if you split wood for about an hour, you really, the testosterone will crank. So that's been proven. So instead of being out there bashing tires with sledgehammers, why don't you split some wood? You get something done anyway. I see a lot of people doing that as an exercise now. It is an awesome exercise, and it really develops a lot of strength. Not only it develops a great hand strength, real good grip strength, because you got to hold on this thing. You're swinging it as hard as you can, and at that last minute you're snapping it, and you do not want this coming out of your hand to hurt anybody. So you don't have to spend a lot of money, folks. 21 years, 22 years, 25 bucks. And it's just annihilated. And I have another one, a Mint Craft Pro, cheap. Now there's some beautiful ones out there, don't get me wrong. Sorry, Cody at Wrangler Star. You got some of the new ones you've reviewed, the Husqvarna and stuff like that. They're beautiful. And anything with a Swedish cutting edge I'm a fan of, because, well, my grandmother was 100% Swedish. So I kind of, those Swedish cutting tools are beautiful, but not necessary when it comes to splitting. I need to have, there is different geometry on the wedge, and I found this just to work really well, because what I want to do, I want the forces to go perpendicular to this. With an axe, you know, I could generate a lot of speed, a lot of kinetic energy, 1/2 mv squared, right? So if I increase my velocity with an axe, I can fly, and there's a lot of kinetic energy, but that is not what splits wood. It is not kinetic energy, it is impulse. Because impulse takes into account acceleration, takes into account time, takes into account the mass and force applied. So I want the force to go perpendicular to my wedge, to my maul. And some people call them go devils, I call them splitting maul. 8-pound is my favorite. There's, you know, you step up to the 10 and 12, you can't swing that very long. Now maybe you can. Maybe if you're Matt Koger, who just won the International Logging Husqvarna Still, whatever it was, I love to watch those. They don't actually do splitting on there though, they do a lot of chopping, and there's a big difference. Chopping is cutting across the grain, splitting is splitting with the grain. And I wish they did a splitting contest, but Matt's won it for the last 4 years. I'm fascinated, I watch that. Anyway, I digress. Impulse is a change of momentum. I want this thing, I got a lot of momentum I'm generating, this mass and velocity, and the force generated in there, and then the time of impulse, again, is once I hit that wood, it's that follow through. It's that follow through with the ball, the golf club, kicking the ball through the uprights, you name it, it's the same. It's just something you got to practice at. You get good at it, and you get a feel for it, and you don't want to spend all day doing nothing, just bouncing around on the top of a piece of wood, playing around. So let's go look at a piece of wood and talk about that. Okay, $25 maul. And now, you don't want to use a maul, and this is axe wood here. It's just a little piece of end cut, and you don't even have to do much. It's going to go flying, knock my sledgehammer off. But when you get into a piece of wood like this white oak, that is a serious chunk of wood. And we're going to use the Mint Craft Pro. And this isn't a one hit piece of wood. This is something you got to work on, and that's why you want to be accurate. So again, I'm going to go on the far side first, and then I'm going to hit on the shallow side. So I'm holding my hand, my dominant hand at the bottom, and I'm going to slide down. When I get to this point, I'm going to do a kind of a snap. It's just a snap in there. So let's give it a shot. Ooh, and that's a hard one. Woo! This is a brutal one. That's a brutal piece. Okay, so she split all the way to the bottom. And so what I'm going to do is make radial cuts all the way around. But I don't want anything holding it together. That piece is split to the bottom. All right. pretty as you please. Another brutal piece of white oak. Move the obstacles out of the way. And again, if this wood's too big, I can always cut it, but that's the way I've been doing it. And it definitely gives you a workout. So here, I got a pretty good radio crack going through there. I'm gonna hit it on the edges. Hit once here. I'm gonna hit it up here. If she's behaving, I'll hit her in the middle. If she's not, I'm gonna work the edges some more. So this is probably about a 6-hit piece of wood or more. Let's see how it goes. All right, dominant hand on the bottom part, snap that thing through. Ooh, she's a booger. That's 3. Or, well, I guess I can't get it in 6, but pretty close. But that's a chunk of wood, okay? And so I can work around. This one's pretty much split all the way through. So instead of picking it up right there, go there. And then I'll look for more cracks. Don't do this, okay? That's what ruins your handles, especially on your nice pretty wood handles. Do not do that, okay? Get things out of the way. Don't step into cow manure. And then you can work your way around this piece. And then she's kind of giving up the ghost now that you split her in half. So she's been weakened, and now you can split. I'm dancing around here. I got a big old cow pie under my foot, so I'm going to move it a little bit here. Looking for that big radial crack. Boom. That should have been a 1-hit. Nice. Always when you do this on film. Okay, well that wasn't that pretty. A little gnarly here, some knots on the back. Good old oak. Now that was a waste of energy right there. I was 3/4 of an inch off, really bad. You want to hit that same spot, okay? So when you get tired, you're just wasting time. Let's see, we split this one in half. Hit that same spot, and you're good. That's good enough for my boiler, but I won't do that one again. But this one, yeah, not wasting a lot of energy, not picking the piece of wood up, at least the whole weight. That's snap right when you get to that piece of wood. Gone. You call it getting angry, whatever. Talk to it. Take that maul and drive her on through. Once you get down to small stuff, it's easy. Sometimes you just meet your match. This is a very tall piece. Cut it a little bit long, and it looks pretty straight, but there's some knots, big knot, deep knot in there, and you see the heart's kind of off center. So this is going to wear me out. So let's see what we can do. You want to snap, 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 just boom. Sometimes come around the other side. I knew this is a challenging piece. Again, accuracy of most importance. Oh, and I lost it. And I lost it. Okay, so that's that. That one shouldn't be too bad. Hopefully that's a 1-hitter. Snap. I don't know how to explain it. We can do that snap right when you need to. And power through more. I'm gonna try to do something dumb. Go in the center of this one right in the knot. Yeah, that's dumb. That's real dumb. But you can. Went right through the middle of that knot. Big knot. But you can. You notice my maul bounced a little. That was just not smart. But there was enough distance before the knot. I was able to power through the knot. All right. That's a two hitter. Oh, why'd I miss? That was just sloppy. You gotta focus. When you start missing the same spot by 3/4 of an inch, you're just not doing it. Sometimes you can skirt that knot on the outside here. Yes. Missed that piece. So this is probably bigger wood than most people split. Not bragging, it's just what my boiler likes to eat. Ugh. Hamstring involvement. Okay, I want to say one last thing. When you're providing that snap right at that, just about the time of impact, you snap it to the point where you feel like your feet are coming up off the ground. You don't have to do that on every piece, but if you really need to power through, I find that gives me a little bit of extra snap. So I'm just gonna, I got that knot and I'm just gonna snap, and I'm gonna, it's hard to describe, but it's a snap where you are engaging your legs, and you will feel it, and you'll feel it when you snap on through there. Oh, what do we got here? Just, that's all easy stuff. When the wood gets like that, then it's just a piece of cake. So, snap! And you're just powering through. And this is a blunt instrument. Yes, I powered through into the ground on that one. So that's that time in the impulse equation. I'll throw the equations up there just for the fun of it, for the sake of discussion and arguing with any of you physicists out there, okay? And let's talk a little translational kinetic energy, impulse, and the change in momentum. So there's a lot of factors in splitting wood: the wood quality, type of wood, size of the wood, length of the wood, the condition of the outside. Is it frozen? Is it ground hard? Height that you're setting your wood at, type of instrument. There's so many cool variables. Do what works for you, and if you find and you know, it's kind of like learning the hard way. It's like, man, why is it taking me so long? Well, your technique's not right, or you're not as accurate as you should be. And but this is one thing you do not have to spend any money on. I'm almost at $1 a year. So $1 on the tool that heats my house for 21 years. That's a pretty good ROI, I would say. All right, split and maul, the only way to go. And of course, here's the goal. A wonderful fire from firewood. There's nothing that can beat it for heating your home, heating water, cooking, just plain old comfort. Nothing can beat it on a cold morning. And you can see this piece of wood as it's turning into charcoal. You see all the radial cracks in it. That's the way we've been splitting the wood, and that's the easiest way to split it, as opposed to me now working the edges is kind of only out of desperation. But that's a beautiful thing right there. Crazy amount of heat, a lot of BTUs. White oak for me is my favorite in terms of processing. Just all around best wood that we have here and on the East Coast and the Southeast is white oak. It just smells good, cooks good, heats incredible, a lot of BTUs. Fist gird up.
Scratch it, scratch it.
I'm so dumb. ISO core.
You should do isocore with your isogenics, man.
Let me try the beast.
Oh,
The splitting. I can't swing 10 pounds for long.
you swinging isocore?
Yeah. How much does this thing weigh?
Too much.
Too much.
No, it weighs. Oh man. The YouTube trolls would have something to say about that.